Hi, I'm Dr. Scott Stripling, and I'm here today in the TBS studios with Dr. Lokkesmoe, an adjunct professor at the Bible Seminary. And Dr. Lokkesmoe is our chairman of the Academic Affairs Committee and pastor at Real Hope Community Church in Rosenberg, Texas. And we're going to talk about student achievement today.
Looking forward to it.
Well, as a professor, you're always wanting to see high achievement and excellence in your students. And so this gives us sort of a bigger picture of what our student body is doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty amazing to see. You look at all these various metrics that you can see, the types of students you're getting, their ages, their gender, how much progress they're making as they go through the program. And, we're seeing here such success, when you compare across other schools, other programs, which we do as a part of the Academic Affairs Committee, you see that the Bible Seminary is really just hitting these marks that are so wonderful to see what God's doing here.
Right. I mean, we set benchmarks out there and then we assess, are we reaching those goals?
Yeah.
But you brought up the breakdown of our student body. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
2 semesters back, here's what we had. 33 males, or 46% male population, 54% female, and that's holding pretty steady. But something that has changed in the last couple of semesters is the ethnic breakdown. And so do you have any stats on what our current ethnic breakdown is among our student population?
So right now it breaks down to 73% white, 17% Hispanic, 10% Black. I'd be curious actually to know how that sort of compares to where we've been.
Right, and it's trending in the direction that we would like to see, which is more representative of the population of Fort Bend County and Harris County and so forth. So, in other words, our Hispanic and Black populations are growing.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure what the Asian populations are in our area, but as of yet, we don't have any Asian students. But hopefully, folks watching today will pick up on this and help us spread the word that we really do want to be a very diverse learning community.
Well, I've sensed that too, just even having taught here over the last couple of years, just that is a value I hear students talking about, I hear other faculty, and so it is really a genuinely held desire of the school to be and to become that type of institution. I love that.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. So you did your PhD work in Denver. So tell us what it was in and sort of how you got from there to here.
Well, I did my PhD in New Testament at the University of Denver, which was a large secular university. So I was the token evangelical in that program.
Been there.
Yeah, and wonderful experience though, and learned a lot, not just about the Bible, but about engagement with people who have different worldviews, and really developed a love for people who have doubts and don't share a worldview and a desire to reach out to folks like that. So that was interesting. And then before that, I went to Gordon Conwell in Boston, Gordon Conwell Seminary, which is an evangelical school. So I kind of had both experiences. I had one that was, I would say, a lot like TBS in the sense of a real shared set of values and a shared faith community at Gordon Conwell, and then a more secular experience on the heels of that at the University of Denver, both valuable in different ways. And then
and your dissertation was in?
It was on the Paul's letter to Philemon, kind of the historical background of that, and what were the circumstances of what was going on there, and really this kind of the social world of the first century church.
All right, so just a reminder of yours, Philemon was probably part of the church at Colossae and so forth. Yeah, I had somebody walk through our offices the other day, less than a week ago, rubbing her head saying, I just heard Dr. Lokkesmoe talk about the letter of Paul to Philemon. And I just laughed. I said, well, yeah, that's kind of his.
That is my thing, yeah. So I studied that, so it was really kind of a historical context of the New Testament type degree. And then at the end of that, thinking I was going to go into academics, I actually felt the Lord leading me into ministry. And so I've now been a pastor for nearly 10 years, but excited for the opportunity to be connected to the TBS community.
These are the types of strategic relationships that TBS is seeking to build, and really that you were looking to build as well.
That's right. I mean, I think back to kind of the first conversations you and I had, and I had heard of TBS, just being in this area and having friends who go to Grace, and I knew of the seminary, and I had a positive impression from what I had heard, but then getting to know you and getting to know some of the other leaders here and students, it just seemed like such a shared set of values of wanting to see a deepening partnership between churches and seminaries, because there has been such a gulf. There's been sort of the church world and the academic world, seminary world, and I love that at its outset, TBS is saying, no, let's bring that together and partner. And so our church is excited about that. I'm thrilled to be able to be.
When you have a opening for a church staff position, let's say, and I know you just went through this process, what are you looking for, and how does a TBS grad fit what you're looking for?
Well, we look for a number of things, but I think a couple of things that TBS is definitely doing to invest in its students that we are certainly looking for are a couple of things. The academic rigor in the sense of a well-formed theology, sense of the gospel, so that's kind of theological side of being able to hire somebody who we are going to trust is going to faithfully lead people into the scriptures, through the scriptures. So that piece of it, I've been so impressed by the TBS students on that front. So that is something I think TBS grads really bring to the table, is that theology, solid theology, and biblical knowledge. But the other thing that is so wonderful about the TBS students, and that we look for in hiring, is a genuine love for Christ and a genuine love for people and wanting to serve the community. And so kind of marrying the head and the heart. And I feel very much that this is a community that does that. And so the graduates coming out here are very much the type of people that we would want to bring onto our team.
And we have some numbers here on our job placement. When a student graduates from TBS, how likely is that person to find a job in ministry? And that's always sort of a big deal. I'm going to invest this much in an education. Are there job opportunities that are there? So we have about a 60% overall job placement rate for our graduates. And considering all the dynamics out there, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that, it's especially in the field of ministry, I think is harder than some fields to land, a job right off the bat, exactly what you want. And many do, but I actually think that is a really good overall job placement rate. And so I think that's a number that can give TBS students confidence that, if they work hard here and they study and they go out there, they're eventually going to find their place.
Right. And so much is relational. So let's say, typically a graduate may be younger than sort of the general ministerial population. Right. So they may be in the process of still kind of paying dues or building relationships. Yes. But in light of that, this number is pretty good. And really, in a number of our students that are already in ministry, we've seen a significant increase in promotions, for example. Angela McClinton was our valedictorian in 2018, and then she immediately moved from one position to another position at her church. And so it's not just that they're going into ministry positions, but moving also within.
Right, yeah, taking on more responsibility, deepening the scope of their leadership in the organizations they're in. And so, yeah, I think that's a really valid point to put alongside, because this is just a raw number thing. Right. Someone didn't have a job, now they do have a job in this field. But there's a lot more to that. It's what is the nature of the job that you have? What level of responsibility have you been given? Right. And so that's neat that you can kind of track that alongside.
It is. So for the benefit of our viewers, let's talk through what our programs are. We have a Master of Divinity program, which is 84 hours, and we call that the Cadillac of our programs. And now that we've gotten through the accreditation loophole, we're having conversations about PhD programs and DMin programs and so forth. But for right now, our MDiv is our Cadillac program. Yeah. Then we have 4 MA options, and one of those being an archaeology degree. Some require biblical languages, some don't. The shortest master's degree is the church history and theology program. And then we have a vocational ministry option, which is for people who don't really they're not seeking a degree, but they do want some core competency training. Right. And as a professor, you really don't know which one falls into which category. So they're really all getting the same high-level content, aren't they?
Sure. Yeah, that's true. It's not like, I've taught classes here that are like Bible certificate, now I'm teaching MDiv. It's not like when preparing the class was, I'm going to go 45% on this class because this is this level. No. I mean, so yeah, we want to see people grow in their knowledge of the scriptures and in their personal relationship with Christ and their desire to serve, and so regardless of the duration of the degree or how serious the student may be at the outset, or if they're just exploring, it doesn't matter. Because also someone starts off in an MA program or a Bible certificate program, and a lot of students have that experience where they sort of catch the bug. They get 4 or 5 classes in, and okay, I thought I was only in for 8 classes, not so much. now I'm in, and I really feel the Lord leading me. And so I think that there's an important, mandate on professors to really offer all they can, because you never know what the Lord is doing in those students' hearts that could be leading them into something longer term and deeper.
Almost every semester we have a student that's moving from the Bible certificate program into a graduate program,
Which is wonderful. Isn't that what you want to see?
Now, people aren't going to believe this when I say it, so they'll just have to go to the Bible Seminary website to check it out. But they can do the entire Bible certificate program. So that's 9 courses, 10 credits for right at $2,000. It's unbelievable.
No, it really is. I mean, having gone to a Christian school that's kind of very evangelical and private, then a university, and I went to a state school for my undergrad. Like, I'm pretty well aware of the range of costs of things. Like, that really is shockingly low.
And our generous donors, of course, help us underwrite the cost of the school, but our vision is to get the word into people. And we want to train people in all 66 books of the Bible. And that's what's really cool, is whatever program someone is in, whether it's Bible certificate all the way to MDiv, they're going to study all 66 books of the Bible.
One thing I think that's really neat about that price point too is when you think about churches out there, particularly, any church, but I'm thinking especially of churches that are larger and have larger budgets. When they think about, for example, their onboarding process, we're hiring a new youth pastor, we're hiring a new missions pastor, we're hiring a pastor of education or whatever it is, a coordinator of this or that. You think about the financial investment they're making in that person, to tack on $2,000 to whatever, much larger amount they're going to invest in that person over the year, to say, you know what, for $2,000, this is a benefit we're offering. We're offering healthcare, and we're offering you a 9-course or whatever, 10-hour Bible certificate program that you can chip away at over the next couple of years or whatever, and that's gonna invest in you, and it's also gonna benefit our church. I think that's a really neat option.
Well, like what you're doing, you're teaching our theology sequence. So theology 501, 502, 503, 504. This semester's 501, next semester's 502. I guarantee you, now you and I have not talked about this, but I'll guarantee you what you're doing in your preparation for that class is finding its way into the pulpit.
There's no question. Right. Well, because leaders are learners. Exactly. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things I love about teaching and being involved in the seminary, is that it's a way for me to continue to be invested in and to invest in other ways in students, and I continue to learn, and it absolutely sharpens me and brings new things into my heart and mind as I'm leading our people. So I really get a lot out of it.
I think about 2 Timothy 2:2, the sayings that you heard from me among many witnesses, commit those to faithful men and women who will be able to teach others. So you see a multiplication of the gospel.
Yeah, exactly. It's been wonderful being involved here, and the more students I get to know, the more impressed I am.
That's awesome.
I'm 5 or 6 classes in now. I don't know the total, but a couple years worth of classes, and I just continue to be so impressed.
So, kind of getting a bigger overview, most schools right now have had an older group of people going into ministry. So this is a nationwide trend. We're seeing now that come down, which we're really thrilled about. So we think that older students bring a whole lot to the table, but we want to see a mix. I think the kingdom, if it's going to be kingdom, it's going to be multi-generational.
Of course, yes.
And so to see that dynamic, like we've got some students in their early 20s that are starting this semester, and then I think our oldest student is 77. And so then to see all this blend together is really awesome. So becoming more diverse ethnically, becoming a little bit younger, and spreading out, filling the programs. Our Mdiv program is growing. The Bible certificate program is growing. So when we kind of sit down, like with academic affairs, for example, and strategize about what we want the next 5 years to look like, we feel like we've got a pretty good trajectory going, don't we?
I think so. And as we evaluate each program every year, is this accomplishing our vision? What are we seeing in the students as they come in, and is this serving their needs? And even our process this past year of reaching out to faculty, reaching out to students, what is your experience? So this is a lot of quantitative data, which is really good, but we're also gathering a lot of qualitative data of experience, and how does this align with our stated values and vision? And so that's one of the things I like too, is being a part of I'm part of a younger church. We only planted 4.5 years ago, and now to be involved in a school that is well established but still sort of younger overall, and to see some of the commonalities of how are you seeing your stated goals and vision manifest? Are students really experiencing it the way you hope they do? Our faculty? And I love the commitment to just sort of measuring that and asking hard questions and continuing to improve. And I really sense that ethos here, which I very much value.
Have you gotten any buzz from students? We just got accredited about a month ago.
I know,
Or what's the buzz out there among
I
students?
mean, I've talked to a few about it, and it's just very exciting. I mean, it really, kudos to you. I mean, the work multi-year.
Well, we had a great team. Dr. Lewis led the way, and then we all played our part. But thank
It was
you.
really amazing to see, coming in on kind of the last couple of years and being an observer to, wow, this is really quite a process. And so that was really exciting. And yes, everybody's just thrilled about it. So.
Okay, so if you were talking to someone and that
Yes.
person was interested in going to seminary, in 30 seconds, what do you tell him or her?
Well, I think what I would do is describe my experience having gone through seminary and sort of what God did in my life. And I would encourage them to think about sort of what path you feel God has you on. And therefore, what do you want to try to achieve while you're in school to end up where you want to end up? But also, at the same time, to hold that loosely and understand that the Lord, of course, is going to work in your heart and your mind as you go through these classes. So I think it's following the Lord's leading and selecting a school and programs that are going to serve that. And then also just, not coming in with this mentality that everything's fixed, but that the Spirit, of course, is going to use the experience of seminary.
Right.
And you may come out of it on a very different trajectory than you came in. And so having your own sense of personal spiritual growth along the process, and that is what I love about the Bible Seminary, is that part of it, of the personal spiritual growth, is not a token thing. It's not, well, we're here to study, and if you grow a little, fine, but that's not the main goal. It is very central to the ethos, absolutely, and that is not a given. There are wonderful schools out there that do incredible things academically, but that culture is not at the surface. It's sort of up to the student to manufacture that. So I really love that about this school.
Dr. Lewis and I are co-teaching a leadership course next semester, so I've been preparing and I'm all excited about that. And I was trying to boil down into just a few words, like what our culture is. And one of those words was transparency. I hope that as people are around us, they just feel that everything's transparent.
Right.
Where this is what we say we're about, and
Right.
then you feel a consistency,
Yes.
with that. And that's kind of the whole idea of what we're doing today, talking about
Right.
student achievement. We wanted to, of course, introduce one of our star players to our team and our supporters out there, but also just to kind of put all the data out there. It's on
Right.
our website. We have faculty involvement through various committees. We have students through our Student Government Association. So everybody's participating in a common effort.
Yeah.
And it's pretty exciting to be a part of.
What you're saying right now reminds me of what Paul said to Timothy: do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, who rightly handles the word of truth. And that word, as you probably know, about approved, was used in the ancient world referring to the testing of metals and authenticating of coins. And so you say transparency. Another word that I think is this, it means something similar, but a word that I think is true is of the Bible Seminary is genuine.
Authentic,
Yeah, authentic, transparent, genuine, the real deal. And that has been my experience on the side of being a professor and interacting with students, that every student is genuinely wanting to grow in the Lord and know His Word. And coworkers and faculty, and staff, same thing, just a genuine desire to see the kingdom grow and thrive and to be a part of that. And while wanting to be excellent and distinguish ourselves as a school, I sense no whiff of sort of negative, competitive, those pitfalls that so easily come with startup organization. I don't sense any of that. I just sense this genuine desire to grow and to serve the Lord. And I'm very thankful for that.
Well, we're in early December in 2020, and we've discussed student data today, and I hope that we can count on you for next December to come back and let's chat again about where we were in 2020 at this point and where we are in 2021 as we continue on this journey together.
I have no doubt God will do amazing things in the coming year.
Good. Well, we appreciate you, and we appreciate all of our friends and supporters that are part of the great TBS family.